the Obama White House response was super tepid. I mean, it said, like, all political and social actors in Honduras need to respect democratic norms, the rule of law. I mean, it's so funny because this is just like, I'm not saying it in Obama voice, but it's like the most Obama sounding statement. You know what I mean? The day after that, he comes out and he's like, well, maybe, you know, Zelaya should be reinstated. He's kind of being his good cop. But then, again, if you remember anything, classic Obama style, he's got his bad cop, which is the State Department. And Ms. Hillary Clinton.
The goat.
The
god.
Goddess. Gaia.
Mother Gaia.
Mother Hillary, she comes out and is like basically the bad cop. I mean, this was the classic White House State Department relationship. And she's like, well, we do think that this has evolved into a coup, which is very funny. But she wouldn't come out and say it was a coup. And again, this is really important legally because if the U.S. designates something as a coup, it means that all U.S. funds have to stop immediately to the country.
All official U.S. funds.
Yes. But even official funds even official U.S. aid to Honduras never stopped during this. And if you want to like counter that, I mean, the day after the coup in Mauritius, aid stopped. The day after the Madagascar coup in 2009, the aid stopped, right? I mean, there was things that the White House could have done to signal they didn't approve. They could have frozen personal assets. They could have canceled visas. None of that happened. And for the 6 months following, the U.S. did basically everything it could to make sure that the coup succeeded. You know, there was the State Department released this letter basically saying like, well, we don't actually support any particular politician or individual, and then went on to pretty much blame Zelaya for the coup itself, saying that he needed to respect the rules, blah, 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 blah. And that got circulated by pro-coup Honduran media and strengthened the right wing there really politically because they're like, see, look, the White House is kind of agreeing with us here, you know?
Yeah.
So come late October, the U.S. brokers an agreement between Zelaya and the coup regime. And everyone's like, oh, amazing, chill. This will provide Zelaya's restitution. And now, according to reporting at the time, Ms. Hillary did give assurances that that would happen to Honduran leadership, a.k.a. Zelaya's party. That is not what happened. Instead, the U.S. just was like, we're just going to bat the election, which was a total I mean, this is such a classic playbook. This was a total fucking sham election.
Absolutely, yes.
They're like, oh, we'll support regardless of the outcome. We just want democracy. We just support, you know, I mean, it's like, I can't even say the words because it's so typical U.S.
I mean, the military just came to this the president's house, and pointed a gun at him and then illegally extradited him to Costa Rica.
Yes.
You know, but it's a good election like a couple months later. We're all good on that.
Yeah. I want to note, too, that just, you know, there were very close Hillary Clinton allies that were hired by Latin American business interests to like basically rep the new military dictatorship. This guy, Lanny Davis, who's a very famous DC lobbyist, former counsel to President Clinton, and then Bennett Ratcliffe, who is currently running for office, actually, funny enough. But he's an old school Clinton PR guy. They were all running interference for the military regime down south.
So there also seems to be a heavy rumor, which doesn't really come up in reporting on it now, but there had been a heavy rumor at the time of Israeli involvement in the coup, namely done by the owner of an electronics firm in Honduras by the name of Yehuda Leitner, and possibly with the use of a security company in the country that is apparently Israeli connected called Interseg, which is still around.
Yeah.
But this was, in fact, Zelaya mentions these organizations by name as having been involved in this and having like used, cell phone blocking software, which would track with what we know about Israeli private military companies. And I'm using kind of quotes around that. But it's funny because I read a lot about that, probably too much about that for this episode. And if you kind of like, if we get down to the wire here, it seems like that not down to the wire, but in the final analysis, as one would say.
When you get to the longevity of it.
The longevity of it,
At the end of the longevity.
It seems like the four major players here were, of course, Honduran business leaders, right? The landed bourgeoisie.
And not just Honduran. I would say also
South American.
South American. We'll talk about them.
North American, likely
well,
too.
yes, obviously North American. But.
The U.S. State Department and military attaches.
Yeah. CIA, obviously.
CIA, yeah. Hillary Clinton I would include in that.
Well, State Department, yeah.
The Israelis.
Well, State Department, but.
And the Honduran military. Those are who brought democracy back to Honduras after a brief opinion poll caused hiatus in 2009. So the new regime in Honduras is immediately just like the most criminal thing you can possibly think
So
of.
fucking brutal. So fucking brutal.
Those who remember, Berta Cáceres' name was brought up a lot in the 2016 election as sort of a cudgel for Hillary Clinton, but like she was essentially murdered by death squads that were a direct result of this coup.
Yeah.
But even in terms of like just the day-to-day corruption of everyday life, after the coup, a man named Mario Zelaya, no relation.
Let's just call him Mario.
Mario, yeah, no relation to the deposed president, was put in charge of the country's healthcare system and immediately began a years-long process of looting it until the quality degraded so much that even the U.S. State Department is like, we're pretty sure we can directly attribute 3,000 deaths directly to like how much the quality of the healthcare here has gone down since the new regime came into power. I mean, they didn't phrase it like that. It's thought he looted $300 million from the healthcare system alone. Globo TV, a Honduran channel, released documents showing that some of that money was donated back to the National Party, and this led directly to the sort of semi-privatization of the Honduran healthcare system that was required by the IMF in order to loan it money to the Honduran healthcare system for its very much depleted coffers caused by the looting back in 2015.
I love this vicious cycle.
I know.
It's so beautiful to see
it's
it in
really
action.
great. I know the IMF plays a really big role in a lot of this, just because like what'll happen is this cycle in Honduras where like, you know, someone connected to the very much criminal two ruling parties there, the Liberal Party and the National Party, will just do the most outrageous crimes on behalf of him and you know, his buddies. Steal the country fucking blind, and then the IMF comes in there is like, actually, this needs to be restructured because it's broke, and we won't lend you the money unless it is.